Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Underworld Evolution. So this is the second movie and it came out in 2006, 3 years after the first. And I absolutely love this movie, but critics, just like with every entry in the Underworld franchise, do not. And but despite the negative reviews, it made a buttload of money and it had a sequel. Now, what's interesting about this movie is that originally it was supposed to be part of the first. The original screenwriter, because remember I said that one guy, Kevin, is the one who came up with the concept, but Lynn and some others, the one who came up with the actual, story of it all and stuff. He intended it to be like one huge movie, but he wrote way too much, kind of like a Kill Bill situation. So they split the first movie up into two, and with some rewrites here and there, came out this movie. The actual real intended sequel to the first Underworld movie is actually Underworld Awakening, the fourth movie, the one that starts to suck. And so, because it has a terrible story. But this movie is an action movie. Just like with many sequels, it's the second one's always an action-packed movie, but one with an actual story, unlike Awakening. And the thing about this story is I like to call this movie the movie of explanation. They explain a lot in this movie. Because why? Well, the first movie didn't explain as much stuff as we really wanted to know. The movie was basically just a big mystery movie where werewolves wanted this one human guy and this one vampire had to figure out why. And then towards the end, we get some revelations as to some real stuff that actually happened in the past. But we didn't know the specifics of details of certain things here and there. Some things, in some ways, if we want to think about it, get kind of retcon and has a bigger overall plot. Like Sonya's necklace from the first movie, there is actually a key in everything. And I like this. I like how they built on the mythology they created and explored it a whole lot more. You can't really say that about a lot of movies and stuff. But one thing this movie does, it explains this, it explains that, it explains this, it explains that. And then it's just kind of wow, there's a lot of stuff they left out in the first movie when you stop and think about it. The first movie, the concept of that movie was Romeo and Juliet meets werewolves and vampires. This movie is not like that. It will get back to that in the third and a little bit in the fifth and everything. But this movie is just a straight up brother trying to find a brother movie. Yes, interesting concept, but it works because it's Marcus. It's now his time to shine. With Victor and Amelia, the other two elders, being dead, Marcus is the only vampire elder left, but he is a direct son of Alexander Corvinus. And so I was really curious to know just how exactly they're gonna do the whole Marcus thing. What kind of person is he gonna be? Is he gonna be nice? Is he gonna be mean? Because we saw the werewolf blood drip down in his casket. What type of hybrid is he gonna be like? Is he gonna look like Michael? No, they went the movie monster route with this dude, and boy, let me tell you, that costume is freaking amazing. I have never seen a man bat in live action, and this is one of the coolest things I have ever seen. I've seen man bats in animation, Spider-Man the animated series, Batman the animated series, The Batman, but never in live action. And the costume rocks. It's a legit costume, and the only CGI is the wings and stuff. But let me tell you this right here, right now. That first movie made a lot of money, and they gave the second movie a huge budget. It is so huge, you can't really tell the difference between the practical and the CGI at the most time. The CGI is always, and I do mean always, on freaking point. Like, the CGI is literally that good. You can't say that with a lot of monster movies or fantasy movies and stuff. There's always that wonkiness of the CGI. Heck, even the first movie had a little bit of wonkiness with the CGI lichens that were running around in that one building when Selena Michael was in. And the only time there might be a little wonkiness is that the transformation from man bat to human in his hand is a little too quick, but it's still good. The transformations are a lot quicker and a lot more like it doesn't look as painful as the first, but it still looks painful in a very sped up kind of way. But it looks real. Why in the world? Nearly 20 years later, CGI looks terrible in movies like the MCU. If you go back to 2006 and you watch this movie, well, you can just watch the movie now, but I'm saying this movie was made in 2006 and the CGI looks amazing. Like, I mean, it looks amazing. And not only did they use CGI on certain things here and there, but like, they use practical effects. They use miniatures and stuff. You can tell when it's a miniature. Basically, the boat that Alexander Corvinus is riding around in, it's a miniature boat. It's the same one James Cameron, I believe it was, used in Abyss. And Lynn blew that thing up. That boat has been used in many movies, and Lynn blew the crap out of it. There is a practical I would say small screen. Well, what did I just call it? The boat is a miniature. That's it. It's a miniature, like castle cave looking thing. And there is a miniature helicopter that goes over the water, and it looks so real. It is not CGI. And what's even more insane is that at the ending of the movie, in the big third act fight scene, remember when the helicopter fell down? Well, that was a combination of a real helicopter and a like miniature one. It's miniature when it's in like the sky, but it's real for the interior, and it's real when it crashes down on that suspension bridge and everything, or that ground, or wherever the heck it falls on. That's a real life big size helicopter that's crashing down. They used a real thing. The only thing that was fake on that helicopter was the blade. That was CGI. Oh my God, take me back in time so I can watch some good movies being made without these huge CGI backgrounds and stuff. Seriously, movies are getting so freaking lazy now, man. Like, I swear. Now, sadly, they still use the blue filter tint on this thing, and it's very apparent in this movie. It was apparent in the last one, but it's even more apparent in this one. It's too much blue. Like, it is saturated with blue. But a lot of early 2000 movies were like that when it came to horror and stuff. There's too much freaking blue. Like, every time you're at night, you don't even know you're at night for the most part because it's so blue. But some scenes that be at night are shot very beautifully when you have that blue tint and the dark sky putting all these shadows on stuff. It looks something out of fantasy, and I love it. I always love that they film these things in like foreign countries and stuff. They filmed a couple of other countries, like in the first one, it was Hungary, Canada, and Russia, and some other places. I forget where they filmed in this one, but in the third one, they filmed in New Zealand. You can tell, it just has a different look to it than that of the first and the second. Sadly, all the architecture, all that cool, like, architecture from the first movie, buildings and stuff, that's been stripped away in this movie. Instead, we're always outside and all this other crap. But the interior of the boat is really nice. And so, like, because the majority of the first cast died, Celine, Kate Beckinsale returns, and her personality in this is completely different. Celine, like I said before, played by Kate Beckinsale, she is our lead action star, just like the first one, and she has a bit more of a personality in this one. In the first one, she was more stealthy, more cold, more still. This one, she has a bit more of a personality and a more of a loving personality, and she is still driven, just not as driven as the first one with hatred. This is more of driven with survival and trying to figure out answers. She is still rude whenever she talks to like other vampires and stuff like that, but she will smirk and smile slightly bit more. It's odd, the relationship between her and Michael. She acting like she's known him for years and she's madly in love with him, when she only known him for like a few days, because this takes place directly after the first movie. There are no months, no weeks that pass by. It is merely like minutes and stuff. And so I don't understand why she acts like she's madly in love with him, when in the first movie she was aware of him. She just kind of glanced in a kind of flirty kind of way, like, you can see she's intrigued by him, but she didn't act like she was lovey-dovey with him in the first movie. But with her powers, her regular vampire powers, we get to see her move at super speed at one point when some humans are shooting at her. This was shown differently in the first movie, to where it looks more like your typical CGI, like run blurry kind of fast kind of way, as opposed to them just running really fast practically in like the first movie, which I like a whole lot more. Michael is back in this movie, and he's still the hybrid from the last movie, and we get to see his face a lot more because he's out in the open and stuff. Oddly enough, he's acting like he's madly in love with Celine too, which is weird because technically he should have a girlfriend back home. Because remember in the first movie, Celine broke into his place and she saw that picture frame of him and a girl? That's his girlfriend. What the heck ever happened to her? It's never been explained. But one thing that's odd with him this time is like, okay, the whole purpose of him in the first movie was supposed to be like, him being a hybrid and him being super strong, because Lucian needed a hybrid to take on Victor, because Victor is really strong. And so are the vampires. Michael in this movie doesn't feel so, he's an ally of Celine, but he feels more like a sidekick to a superhero. Even to the point where she gives him orders and he disobeys and nearly dies. Because she tells him you can no longer eat human food, it will kill you. You can only drink blood, and he doesn't want to do that. So he disobeys her orders, goes to a restaurant, eats some food, throws it up, and nearly dies from the food, spazzing out until the humans and the cops see him and shoot at him. And it's at the point where the cops are just shooting at him with regular bullets, and that takes him kind of down a little bit, and she has to swoop in and save him. But he's a freaking hybrid. How are regular lead bullets hurting him? Not only that, but like, she tells him you're unique, she doesn't know the limitations of his powers. And it kind of shows, because it's kind of like, if he's supposed to be this uber strong person who literally took on Victor in a fight in the last movie and all these vampires and stuff at ease, why does he feel sometimes downgraded in the power level department in this movie? Sometimes he's like drained at times, and other times he's like super strong. And it's kind of weird because he's a hybrid. And when he takes on the hybrid of Marcus and everything, they fight and they go toe to toe. So that's understandable. They're both hybrids, so it's going to be hard to take both each other down. When he has to fight the Lycan guards in the middle part of the movie, it does kind of take him a while a little bit, but then he gains his strength. Then when he gets into a second fight with Marcus, he literally gets his butt whooped within seconds, to the point where he can't even transform. He's in his human state, and Marcus takes his body up and throws him on a metal pole through his stomach or chest area. Then he takes his hand and spikes him on like a giant nail, halfway crucifying him and stuff. And it's to the point where he is unconscious, dying, and Celine has to give him some of her vampire blood in order for him to regenerate. And that's what helped him to regenerate. And it's kind of like, how? He's a freaking hybrid and everything. What was the point in creating that in the first movie if they're not really that strong? But then we do get to see his strong side when he fights some lichens in the end of the movie, and he's just able to just shred through their bodies with his hand. Like he literally just took his hand and with ease punched it through a werewolf chest and like just ripped him apart. Then he took William, who is the first werewolf and who looks more like an actual wolf. He just literally grabbed that dude by the throat, grabbed him by one of his, like, what the dogs called, like their nose attached to like their mouth and their teeth, whatever that part's called. He took that and just literally ripped that dude's head in half. Like popping the top to like a canned soda or something. Like he literally did that. So he is super strong, but then there's times where he's kind of weak. And it's kind of like, how and everything. And when Celine becomes an hybrid, she's able to take down Marcus a whole lot easier than he did. And then not only that, but then when you get to the fourth movie, how are two hybrids taken down by humans of all people? Like, you see what I'm saying? It's like they started to ruin their own movie because they can't even keep to the same logic. Not only that, but then, like, he should have known what that necklace was at the end of the first movie because Celine bit him. So he should have known, like, all the, like I said, here's the thing about the whole key thing. Okay, the necklace from the first movie that Sonya wore and that she died, and Lucian took that, and then Lucian had it around his neck, and then for whatever reason, Michael took it at the end of the movie. It's more than just that. See, the necklace is actually part of a key. The key to that of William's dungeon, because William was a human who had that disease from his father, got bit by a wolf, and turned into the first lichen. His lichen looks completely different than everybody else for some bizarre reason. He looks like an actual wolf, as opposed to the other lichens who look like cats in the face. And yes, they're cats because that's what the creator of the movie said. They went more of a cat look than a dog look because the dog look just looked too much like a dog, but they went for a dog look in the second movie. Also, instead of having black fur, he has white fur, and he's a lot thicker. So the thing about William is he can't turn human no more. He is literally a savage. And when he bites other people, they turn into regular lichens, but they can't transform into human, and they are savage and everything. So this is why the vampires originally went to war with the werewolves and everything because they were bloodthirsty and savage, and they just killed everything and everybody in their path. So there was a legitimate reason why the vampires had to kill as many lichens as they did. Until Lucian was born. He was the first lichen born with a human body from an actual lichen werewolf. And he's able to transform. So his new breed took over and became the slaves of the vampires. And so pretty much the vampires had to hunt down all the lichens. Now we finally get to see some vampire werewolf like hunting down action in the beginning of the movie. I love this entire scene. I wish it was longer. It is shot beautifully. The night sky, the blue tint, and also the action and the type of gothic like tools that they use, the swords they use, the giant crossbows with the giant metal chains to them, and the outfits they wear knight armor. It's a little bit British, it's a little bit like samurai, it's a little bit Japanese, it's a little bit of Hungarian. It's like a different combinations and stuff. And we get to see all three elders in the same place at the same time. This is before they started leapfrogging through time every 1,000 years. Two sleep, one awake. And we get to see Amelia. We get to see her actually, like, fight. We get to see her move around. We get to see her talk just a little bit because the actress who plays her actually retired from acting around this time. She hasn't done much acting. She's mostly just a model and like a mother. And so that's why she never showed up in none of the other movies, even though she was a big part of like the fourth, but no, the fifth, but nobody never knew that because, it's just like archive stuff and it's talked about and she has a son. Anyways, so we get to see this big, huge, like, battle between like the vampires just like cutting up like all the like lichens and burning their bodies, and then because they had ravaged a village, and then the humans that was dead, they started to turn. And I do like how when the humans turn, they don't fully turn into a lichen at first they kind of have like this black skin, a little bit of fur, but they human look to them, and then they fully transform. And it's cool with the fire on like the bodies and all this other crap. And so this was spectacular and one of my favorite parts in the entirety of the movie. In fact, this probably is my favorite part of the whole movie. I wish the third movie had more of that. There is something off with the third movie, and I will get to that in a little bit later as I put out these videos and stuff. But there's just something off with that third movie. It's good, but every time I watch it, it is something I'm not feeling. But anyways, so after they subdue like William and everything, Victor, who is we learn like about Victor later on in this movie from a guy named Thanos. Basically, Victor was not the first vampire. He wasn't even born a vampire. He was born human. He was older. He had an army. Marcus needed his army to help hunt down William. So with Victor dying on his deathbed, Marcus turned him into a vampire. And so, like, Victor became super strong, hated werewolves and everything. And, like, did not want werewolves around or any kind of like William. And so it really, they evolved the character of Victor, who we thought the whole time he was born a vampire and stuff. And not only that, we thought he was like the first. But people should have known he wasn't the first. If like the Corvinus brothers got bit by animals and that became the first vampire, then I don't understand that. But anyways, Victor will not allow Marcus to be near his brother because his brother is too savage. But he will not kill that of William. He will just imprison him because of fear. Both Marcus and Victor fear each other. Marcus fears that Victor might kill his brother, and Victor fears that if like Marcus dies, then that could end the line of all vampires. Like how older vampire movies were? If you kill the head vampire, then you die and everything. All the rest of them die. So they play around with that aspect, but it doesn't never happen. Because there are still lichens around, and the head lichen person died, except for the head, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so he was in prison in like a casket made of, I guess, maybe silver or something like that to like weaken him. And then like, a castle that looked like a cave and everything, a cave type castle. His casket was constructed by that of Celine's father. And so like, because of that, the key, the necklace, is part of a key. There are two keys. There's a necklace, and then there's a giant one. The giant one is inside Victor's chest at all times. So, like, my point earlier was that Michael should have known this because he should have known what the location of William is because Celine bit him in the first movie. He's supposed to have all her memories just like he had that of Lucian. So if he has Lucian memories that are fragmented, why doesn't he have Selena's that are fragmented? They are messing up their own like rules and everything. I don't understand that. And so like Craven from the first movie, he shows up at the mansion because he wants to kill Marcus because he wants to be the only like vampire left that controls all the covens and stuff because all the elders, two of the elders are dead. So he goes there in the beginning of the movie, but Marcus has already transformed into a hybrid and he kills all of Craven's men and he drinks Craven's blood and then he chops his head into multiple pieces with his wings. And this is the end that we see of Craven, except for a little cameo in the middle of the movie. And we see even Erica in a flashback making out with Craven, but it's not the actress because she never came back. Sophia said, like, Kate went to Lynn, the director, and told him that she doesn't want Sophia in the movie no more. And at that time, Lynn and Kate were not married. We still don't know if they had an affair or not, but something happened because he was a married man. Lynn was a married man in the first movie. The director, Michael Sheen, who played Lucian, was the boyfriend of Kate. Something happened, they broke up, and then after that, she married Lynn. So now they were married at the beginning of this movie, and she did not want Sophia in the second movie, supposedly. So we just get like a stand-in with like a blonde hair and everything. Yeah. And so Craven is no more in this movie. Now, it's never been explained why the actor left. But when I looked up at his resume, he did another movie that came out the same year as this. So he probably couldn't do it because of schedule conflicts and everything. That's what I'm assuming. That's what I'm hoping. And so Marcus, after that, burns down his entire mansion in the Coven. But what happened to all the vampires that was in there? Did Marcus eat them, drain them? Did he burn them alive? It's never explained, but it is explained that that coven that Victor had and Marcus had is now gone. The only coven that is left is the one Amelia has in a different country, which we will see in the fourth movie, but they later renamed. The fourth movie gets a little weird because it's only supposed to be two main covens and three elders, but the fourth movie kind of screws that up, and then the fifth movie screws it up even more, but I'll get into that later. So anyways, so he now has all the memories of Craven and he knows everything that happened. He uses the memories to use the computers to find, like, where Celine is at, and because she tried to get to Marcus so she can explain everything that happened. At first, he starts to seem humble and everything until he wants to know why Victor concealed the murder of her parents and everything. Because remember, like, she thought the werewolves killed her family, but it was really Victor because he got just bloodthirsty and was thirsty for human blood. So he drinks some of her blood. He fights that Michael and they escape. And so we get this really interesting, touching scene where, like, her hand is burning, the sun's coming out, she's about to, like, burn the cinder. We finally get to see that. So we see this loving moment where Michael, like, shields her. He goes into, like, a shed, like, blacken the mirrors with paint, and he puts her into, like, a little, closet thing. And then, but she tells him, she's totally fine because she'll just heal and everything. So now they have to find out why Marcus wants that necklace and everything. So she goes to Tannis. Tannis will show up in this movie, but he'll also show up in the third, because the third is a prequel. And so he's actually friends with Bill, who plays that Victor. And as for Michael Sheen, by the way, he does not appear in this movie. Just a stand-in and like a dead body and stuff. I mean, why would he? And like his girlfriend literally left him for like another man. You know what I'm saying? But from what I hear, those two are good now. They're still cuddle buddies. I don't get that. But they have a kid together, so they have to act all nice for them. And they probably do still care about each other as friends, but boy, there was a lot of drama back then. So anyway, Tannis, he was exiled by Dada Victor because Victor lied and said Tannis lied. But it turns out all his lies were real. Victor just didn't want nobody to know. He's kind of like, the scholar or whatever. He writes all the stuff down for all of history and stuff. And Celine's the one who exiled him. But then she sees his exile place has changed. There's a gate, and he has Lycan guards on a chain, like guard dogs. They fight their way through. She actually kills, I think, his vampire girlfriends that are like topless. And she's kind of confused as to how in the world does he like have all this stuff, because she left him with literally nothing. And how does he have like in guards, and how does he have all these girls and all this other stuff? And she finds UV bullets, the same UV bullets that was used in the first movie. So he was the one who traded with the werewolves in the first movie. That one dude thought the military might have created them, but it might have just been Thanos who created them, because he hates his own kind now because of what Victor did to him. And so he tells her everything. Now, as for the Lycan guards, why would Lucian allow his guards to have chains around their necks and kind of like a face mask made of metal so they won't chew nobody or chew him? And it's kind of like, it don't make no sense, because the werewolves are still human and everything. I don't understand why Lucian would do something like that. It's a weird part in the movie, but anyway, he explains more crap that is slightly retconned. Remember when I said Victor got bloodthirsty and killed her family? He did it for a reason, and it's not because he was thirsty. Her family is the one who constructed William's casket, and Victor hid him in the castle, in the cave. And so only his Celine's family knows of this. And she starts to have memories of the necklace because she knows of it somehow. But it triggered a memory when she pressed the middle, and these blades came out. And apparently she knew all this, but somehow forgot for some bizarre reason, and I don't know how. And so she knows the location of William and everything, but she just forgot where it is. And so technically, like I said before, Michael should have known this. So he gets her in touch with somebody who can help her and everything. Now, there's a part of the movie I completely left out, but let me finish Tannis. So, of course, Marcus shows up and kills him and gets the information he needs and everything. Who is that person that could help them? Well, it's Alexander Corvinus, who's going by a completely different name. He is still immortal, he is old, and he surrounds himself with humans. His human followers are the ones who clean up the mess that the vampires and the werewolf leave behind, so the rest of the humans don't find out. And so, him and her get into this huge argument, because she's all it's weird about her this season. She seemed to love being a vampire in the first movie and killing werewolves and stuff. In this movie, she now hates both. She hates vampires and she hates werewolves, and she blames him and his sons. And Michael asked, well, couldn't you stop it? Because Alexander is supposed to be the strongest of all the immortals and everything, and his blood is super powerful. And she tells him that, your sons are monsters and they create monsters. And so she's being very hypocritical, but you understand where she's coming from, because so much life has been lost because of them. And he literally tells her, no matter what they have done, he can't kill his own sons. You know what I'm saying? And he tells her that a second time after his son kills him. So, of course, like I said, Marcus shows up. He kills, Michael and everything. He beats up Celine. He gets some of her blood. He finds out where William's at. And then he kills his father and he leaves. And so, right before Alexander dies, he gives his blood to Celine. And she tells him, what will I become? Because, of course, his blood is the most powerful. And he says the future. Then he blows himself up while his soldiers help her out. This is when they head to the cave and get to the third climax. And, it does suck he died. But it is weird how he was dying and he's supposed to be immortal. But whatever. Now, there's a part I'm a little conflicted about. This movie came out so many years ago, and when she evolved and turned into a hybrid, I was happy the way she looked. How does she look? Normal. She doesn't change whatsoever. Her eyes glow blue a little bit more and a little white. Other than that, she still has her fangs and she still has her human appearance. At that time, I was happy because Kate Beckinsale is a good-looking woman, so you don't want her to look all monstrous. Now, however, I kind of wish she looked a little bit like a monster. The whole point of all this hybrid stuff is you're supposed to evolve and be stronger and more meaner than the other, and all the guys turn into monsters, but yet she's the only one who looks the way she does. Well, there's a reason for that. She's married to the director and the writer. Well, not the director. Yeah, he did direct this movie, and the co-creator and stuff like that. So she kind of gets to have her way. So we get some scenes like underwater, William comes out. And then what's weird is that Marcus is able to control William just by talking him down, yet he's supposed to be savage. Anyways, William gets away and she locks Marcus in like his casket cave like dungeon area. And so then she goes looking for William, but he's already tore up and ate and bit like, the human soldiers. Of course they turn. And so all they have are like UV lights. There are no silver bullets in this movie, or no silver nitrate bullets. That was so cool in the first. Why in the world did the human people not bring silver weapons with them? They only brought UV lights for that of like Marcus. And I just don't like get it, you know what I'm saying? And why didn't she bring UV bullets and stuff when she left tennis and stuff? Like, I don't get that. Like, that just don't make no sense. But anyway, huge battle. And I mean, it is huge. It is a very, rough and tough, like, punch them and, shooting their way. But then, of course, the humans turn into lichens. She is screwed. So she's shooting the crap out of them before some of them can turn, and some do turn. And it's a great action sequence. By this time, Michael has fully regenerated and he's ready to kick some butt. He is tearing up lichens left and right, showing that hybrid strength and everything. But of course, Marcus gets out and her and Marcus go toe to toe. He literally rips the head off of like William and everything. And this causes a distraction for that of Marcus, to where he stabs Celine with his like wing talon type thing. She breaks it off, uses it as a dagger, and she stabs him through the head with it. And then in a glorious fashion, she pushes him towards the helicopter, and he busts into a million pieces of the blade. And the CGI is amazing. After that, the sun comes out and she realizes something. This is her hybrid co-power. See, she's as strong as Marcus and as like Michael now. And she's strong and she's faster and she can withstand sunlight. And so she doesn't know what the future holds and everything, but then the fourth movie came out and we know what happens after that. But all in all, like I said, this was a really good movie and stuff. And this right here should have ended the timeline with Celine. Like, there's really was no point in going forward with her now, because think about it. Her and Michael can just live a happy, normal life in the sunlight, in the darkest, like whatever, you know what I'm saying? As long as the humans don't find out and stuff. And, the other vampires, because there's other vampires living in other countries, but, they're not hunting her down. And there's a couple of lichens left, but they're not hunting her down. And not only that, but, none of the vampires and the werewolves are dead now, even though the elders are dead. So she could have lived her life in peace. But then they came out with that fourth movie, and it messed a lot of stuff up. And the fifth movie was no better. But I don't remember the fifth movie. I only saw that once. But the fourth movie is only good for action, and that is it. And that's the only reason why I own it. And so she wanted to appear in the third movie, but, after some rewrites here and there, they decided to make it into a prequel before the events of her being born. And so the third movie revolves around Sonia. But we do get like a voice over by her and everything. I do like the third. Like I said, I like the third, but there's something off with the third movie. But I'll get into that much later. And so the two new actors we got, well, actually three we got this movie were really good. The dude who played Tannis, who name I forgot, we'll see him a whole lot more in the third movie. And the dude who plays Marcus, like he was really good. I think his name is something Corin. I forget something with a T. Tony Corin, I think. He was in the second Blade movie, the blonde guy with the curly hair, who got turned into a hybrid vampire, and they had to chop his head off. Then he was in this other show. I think it was, I forget what it was called, but he played like a demonic, like boss type dude. So he's always into like this horror stuff, and he was in The Flash in the last season. And I think the other dude's name is Derek Jacobi or something like that. He was really good too as Alexander Corvinus. Like I was really wondering what he would be like, and he kind of had like this Greek-inspired hairstyle and stuff. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.